Greetings from Canada and welcome to our third webinar, Wiki Educator and Creating OER Projects, as part of our series for raising awareness about OERs in the TESOL community. This webinar is brought to you by TESOL International members, Jadia Mansour and Sharon Chading Glass and Charity Davenport, and in collaboration with the TESOL International Computer Assisted Language Learning Interest Section, CALL-IS. We are very, very, very grateful that we are collaborating with them, and thank you for your support. We have a member who represents CALL-IS, our colleague Mary Allegra, and she will be co-moderating with me this webinar today. Right now, Sharon will tell you something.
So I am going to, if you can't see it in the chat, I'm going to put a link to the feedback form for today, where you can tell us basically where you're coming from, your interest in OER, and if you want to share your email address so we can let you know future events coming up related to OER so we can reach out to you personally. So if you can take a minute and go to that Google form and let us know where you're coming from, we would greatly appreciate it.
And if you are a TESOL International member as well.
Yes.
Thank you.
Member. Yep.
Thank you very much, Sharon. Now, Mary, also, would you like to share some information about the call interest section, please?
Yes, good morning, everyone, and good afternoon in other parts of the world. And well, I would like you to know that TESOL CALL-IS is the Computer Assisted Language Learning group that exists to facilitate the interaction among members of TESOL who desire to further the teaching of ESL, EFL, and languages in general through the medium of CALL. So you can join us if you want in the MyTESOL platform, and you can also join CALL Intersection YouTube channel, where you can find not only the recording of these sessions, but the previous sessions with Dr. Osia Nelson, who is also accompanying us this morning, and more than 100 videos in which you can update regarding CALL. And well, welcome everyone. And we're very happy to be here and to accompany Chadia, Sharon, and Charity.
Thank you so much, Mary. Thank you. All right, so Dr. Nelly Deutsch is our featured speaker today, and she generously agreed. We're having her for the second time. We're very lucky to have her. She agreed, and she promised that she's going to be back for a hands-on workshop, and that's what we're going to be doing today. And we do know that these hands-on things are very, very useful for teachers, so we're very happy to have you as well. So without further ado, I will introduce Dr. Nelly Deutsch, and then she will have to run the show after me. All right, Dr. Nelly Deutsch is a Canadian education technology relationship-based mentor to educators worldwide. She's been teaching English in middle school, high school, and at the college level for 40 years, and integrating technology into face-to-face programs since 1992. She organizes free annual online events such as Moodle and Virtual World MOOCs, online conferences, Connecting Online and Moodle MOOCs on Moodle for Teachers site. She's an ebook coordinator and moderator. She practices team-based peer learning, supporting learner autonomy and integrating technologies such as Moodle, Jitsi, Hungria, Google Meet, MS Teams, Zoom, Screencast, Omatic, Kahoot, Padlet, Quizlet, and Google Drive to engage and empower learners. It's a very long list of very interesting and technologies here that we all need as teachers. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Nelly Deutsch.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's workshop. Yes, it's a workshop. It's not really a lecture. And let me just maximize This is actually a PowerPoint presentation that I'll share in the chat box later on that you can use, copy, reuse, remix, do whatever you want with it. And most of the images, if you click on them, will take you to the source. In this case, that's the image that was created by UNESCO Global Open Educational Resources logo. So a little bit about me. I know that things were mentioned as well as my technologies, but things are changing and I'm changing what I'm using as well. So I'm not using many of the technologies that were listed. I'm using other ones these days, and you can see the list of those. All the other information is accurate. So what brought you here? If you could add that in the chat, just you could add number 1, 2, 3, and 4. Curiosity. Are you here to learn about open education resources? Are you here to learn how to use them? Because they are available. Are you here to create open educational resources? To learn how to create, or are you here to actually create? So notice the differences. There are 3 hows and 1 for. So I'm going to check in the chat box, give you a second or two just to add 1, 2, 3, 4, which makes it really, really easy. And I've got Revithy. Good to see you, Revithy, who's here to create. Great. Okay, I see lots of good friends, colleagues that are here to actually create. That's great. But okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's wonderful. All right. So great input. Thank you for letting me know. I had another picture. So hi. Great. Okay. So that's what you're going to get. You're going to get 1, 2, 3, 4. But actually, what we are going to do is 4. We're going to focus on 4 if we have time. So I'm going to speak really quickly. No, I won't. But let's see how much we get done and what it means to actually create open educational resources, OERs. What does it mean to create? First of all, a little definition here. And notice this is the latest. There are lots of definitions if you go into Wiki Educator or Wikipedia or any other source online. You'll find that there are various definitions. The latest one is by Hewlett Foundation. And notice it focuses, the main difference is the free. The fact that it's free. In previous ones, they didn't really stress the point of free. So OER. What's great about OER are the 5 R's. So easy to remember. Lots of REs. You can revise, and this is in no kind of order. So it's cyclic, revise, retain, remix, reuse, and redistribute. Now, if you think about it, maybe they all sound the same. So something to ponder and think, how are they really different? Or maybe they're not. So retain, what does it mean to retain the OER? To retain means to download. In other words, when I said that my Google presentation is available for you to copy, download, print, save, do whatever you want with it, is that an OER? If you could add that in the chat, yes or no. Would my Google presentation be an OER? And every answer is correct because it's what you think. And what you think right now is perfectly correct. By the way, there are lots of discussions on OERs and what they really mean and what they should mean. And the discussions have been going on since the late 80s, early 90s. So you say no. I've got 1 no, 1 yes, yes. Okay, yes and no's. Okay, and Ebba says real OER are with CC. That's right. Okay, so Ebba knows her information and you can get it too. All right, so actually it's not a real OER, but it does act like one. So it is some kind of free and available. Reuse means that you can use it in any way, such as in a classroom, on a website, in a video. You don't have to worry about giving credit or about copyright, or do you? Okay, so this is also debatable, and there's lots of information on that. And you'll find the discussions ongoing. Revise, modify, or adapt, which means that you can change it to suit your needs. Sounds great. And remix, in other words, very similar to revise. Revise means to actually change it. And combine, remix is just, like music. You remix the music, you combine the original content with other material to create something bigger. And this is a very, very important part of OERs and in general open sources, because it allows others to come in and add new. And that's how we learn, by adding new information to old information. So the remix is a very important aspect as well. Redistribute means that you share the copies with others, very similar to reuse, but you don't have to worry about distribution and, again, copyright laws. This is information for you that I think you'll find useful if you're interested in creating, maybe not today, but you'd like to create and you'd like to get some OERs so that you can use it and make the changes that you wish, if you wish. So for learning activities, there's H5P. I'm sure many of you are familiar, especially if you've taken courses with me on Moodle and how to use Moodle, because H5P is part of Moodle, and Moodle, of course, is open source. But it's not an open education resource. So you can use it. There's the link, and take a look at it. It's great for teachers because there are lots of amazing activities that I don't think you can get anywhere else, completely free, and you can do whatever you want with it because it is an OER. There's software, as I mentioned, open source software, or there's free, FOSS, and there's just OSS, because not everything that's open source is free. Some of it is to a point, but there are some limitations in many cases. So Moodle is an example of an open source, but if you want to host it, it'll cost you money. In other words, you can't just put it out there. You need to host it somewhere, and that costs money, so it's not completely free, even though you can install it, and there's the download anywhere. However, Jitsi, for example, is an amazing open source that's completely free, and you can take it, also download it, install it somewhere, but the somewhere costs money. So there is money involved, and it's not completely free, but you can create open education resources with these, but you have to house them. So the housing online is a very important aspect of any kind of open education resource. So someone has to pay. There are wikis like Wikipedia, Wiki Educator, all the wikis that are out there are from an open source called Wikimedia. And you can also download it, you can use it. You can't download Wiki Educator or Wikipedia. You can't just take it, okay? But you can create something like it. So is Wikipedia an open educational resource? Does it have open educational resources? Sorry, I just stopped screen sharing. On it or not? So let's see what you have to say about that. And I hope everything's back to normal. Okay, so let's see what you've got to say about that. Is Wikipedia an OER? Jan says yes. Welcome, Jan. Good to see you here. Your name, please. Sharon says, is giving some information. Okay, so something to think about. It's a platform. Okay, and it's not an open source. You cannot take Wikipedia and do whatever you want with it, but it does have some OERs on it, definitely. Okay, it's like Wiki Educator in the same way, but the platform that was used for Wiki maybe for Wiki Educator and Wikipedia is open source and is completely free, but it has to be housed somewhere on a server. Operating system. Now this is really exciting, and I've been dying to do this for the past, I don't know how many years. I use a Mac, I used to use Windows, and I have been planning to create an Ubuntu and a Linux to put an operating system on my old, very old servers and OSs, especially Windows. So yes, Linux and Ubuntu are completely free. You just have to buy the box and add some things, hardware, and it's operated by a free source, which is absolutely amazing, and not too many of us take advantage of it. So you can have a computer for free. It can run for free. You don't need Windows, and you don't need a Mac. So isn't that good news? So these are ways that you can create an OER. So let's say you want to create an OER, and from what I saw at the beginning, many of you are here because that's what you want to do. You want to create, and that's great. Well, you start planning. That's the first stage. What do you want to do?
Dr.
Yes.
Deutsch, sorry
Yes.
for interrupting you. We're hearing some noise from your end, I believe.
No,
No?
I don't
All
hear
right, sorry about that. I'll try to track
That's
it.
the problem.
It might be your microphone. I'm looking to see if anyone else has their microphones on.
That's interesting because I don't hear any echoes or anything.
When you're talking, maybe it's your mic, moving your mic or something?
I'm
No?
using a headset. I mean, I'm using a, could be.
Right, I think
really
yes,
need
that's what
it.
it is.
Is,
Yeah.
is that better?
That's
That's
perfect.
much better. Yeah, thank you. Sorry about interrupting you. Thank you.
Is that better?
Perfect, yes, much better.
Oh, okay, so maybe it
Thanks.
was, I was moving my head.
Right.
All right. Yeah, sorry about that. Okay, so first you need to plan. What do you want to do for your classes, for your students? What kind of activities? Maybe you want to do a web quest. I started my first OER in 2003 with a few web quests, and I put them out there for anyone to use and do whatever they want with it. You can create lessons and share them with the world and allow others to do whatever they want with them. Reuse them, remix them, and redistribute them. You can write articles. You can conduct research and write articles and add them freely on open journals. And there are some open journals, but even to journals, you can ask them to make them open access so that anyone can use your work. So there are open journals with open access, and there are journals in general that also have open access. And then you can share it on libraries and schools, and they'll all be completely free for anyone to use. You can create a course using Moodle, for example. That course can be used in other Moodle websites, but you do need to have the Moodle infrastructure in order to add the courses, but these can be shared. And there are many, many OERs courses that are available if you're using Moodle that you can simply back up and install on your Moodle site, or ask your admin to add it to your course. And then you can make the changes that you want on this particular course. So that's one thing that you can do, and share it with your school, other teachers, and so on. You can also write books or use books. You can write your own books. These can be textbooks that you can write alone, or you can collaborate with a team and write your own textbooks very easily without paying for anything. And you can do this on Wiki Educator as well as on another platform that I'm going to share with you, and then you can share it with your students, faculty, and school. So as far as books go, there's the link to open textbooks. It's from British Columbia. I think I have a book there. I didn't find it, but I did write a book with lots of other people. And I think before 2010, sometimes I don't remember, 2008 or 9. And they have a platform where you can actually self-publish. You can publish your own books, and there are also many, many books available. If you go to that link, you'll also see other books, textbooks that are available on different subjects. There are lots of categories: English language teaching, learning to speak, and so on. Everything is completely free, and you can use it, but you need to house it somewhere. So you have to think about where you're going to put your course if you don't have a platform at your school, but then you can use other platforms that allow you to import courses. And there are journals, of course, and one journal, my favorite journal, is the International Review of Research in Open and Distributed Learning. I think some of you may recognize it. Let me know if you recognize. I used to be a peer reviewer a couple of years ago, but I was overwhelmed, didn't have enough time. So anyone familiar with it? With the International Review of Research, or IRRODL. If you'd like to write, subscriptions are available. So if you want to publish anything, there it is. It'll be peer reviewed, of course. So you may need to make corrections, and that's fine. That's a learning experience, but at least your research will be available. This could be excellent research or anything else. So I highly recommend it, and the link is available on the PowerPoint, so you can try that out. All right, so what's the difference between open education and OERs? There is a lot of information on open education, and you probably noticed there are MOOCs, and some MOOCs allow you to do things and others don't allow you to do things. So a MOOC on various platforms, and you could probably name a few right now in the chat box, such as Coursera, any ones that you took. Anyone take MOOCs? If so, what platforms? There's Future Learn that I like very much. Let's see what you come up with. Canvas has really courses that you can take on Canvas. That's great. It's a platform. Yes, edX is one of the most popular after the initial MOOCs came out in 2008. By the way, Wiki Educator was involved in that MOOC, and there's lots of information on that. Okay, a lot of you mentioned Coursera. That's by Blackboard these days. Okay, so the differences are, first of all, you don't have to have any kind of criteria for admission. Anyone is admitted. You don't have to have previous education. You could have grade 1 education and join if you're there. I don't know if the age suits you, but anyone can join. With open education resources, anyone can use it. So both of them are similar. As far as the cost goes, notice with open education, there are restrictions. In other words, you do have to pay if you want certificates, and you can take courses that are in person. Only e-learning courses are so-called free. And open education resources are completely free. Can you use the information? I mentioned this before. You cannot for open education. You cannot retain, reuse, remix, revise. You can just share it, but you can't really redistribute the platform. It belongs to whoever organized it. Generally, they're organized by universities who have to pay to be able to do that. So I think we've talked a little bit about what's available out there. Let's take a look at what Wiki Educator, for those that are not familiar and didn't attend the previous session that I gave. So if you could just add in the chat box, are you familiar with Wiki Educator? As I said, all the images or logos are clickable and you can get the source. So Wiki Educator, no, great, wonderful. I'm glad I brought, okay. Should never presume, as somebody wrote me today. Never presume anything. All right, great. I'm glad many of you don't, because here's a bit about it. Not to bore you. OER, Wiki Educator has OER. You can create OER on Wiki Educator. You can share it. But as I said, the platform is media wiki, so you can have the platform, but you cannot get the code of Wiki Educator in that way. So it does have Creative Commons for the information, but not for the source. Okay, so let's keep that clear. These are organizations that are involved. Eva talked, I believe, about the International Council for Open and Distance Education. When she spoke about OER, there's the OER Foundation. Wiki Educators started with the Commonwealth of Learning, who provided support. And the man behind it, I try to contact him and tell him what's going on. He's based in New Zealand right now, but I guess New Zealand is closed, not just physically, but also internet-wise, because I couldn't get hold of him. Generally, I do. So Dr. Wayne Mcintosh is originally from South Africa, but he lived in Australia and now is in New Zealand at Otago. And everything he does is really, he's a professional, and he really knows about OERs and about open source. He's a computer technologist. Okay, so my experience with Wiki Educators started, you've got the hour there, 1806, November 28 is when I created my account. So all the information is transparent, it's all there. You can get the information too. So it's completely open to everyone. In 2007, my username is Nellie Muller, that's my maiden name. And you can see that I'm a member of the bureaucrats and administrators. A bureaucrat means that I can delete anything that's not suitable on Wiki Educator, and I'm an administrator, so I can also help out with your user. I've got all these rights that I don't have on Wikipedia. And I was the chief electoral person when we had our first elections on June 2008. Yes, there are elections on the platform too, so it is a community. So what's the purpose of Wiki Educator? You can see the purpose. It's planning education projects, or OER, and developing free content. And for e-learning specifically, and you can see that there are also funding proposals, and it's completely free. So how does it differ from Wikipedia? Well, on Wikipedia, you cannot add anything unless you show your credibility and you're someone that they trust that will add correct information. Wiki Educator, we do check, but it's not an encyclopedia. It's not an online encyclopedia. It's more than that, because it allows you to interact. You can't really interact on Wikipedia except in the talks, but not really, because they delete whatever you have to say. So it's not really that social, and Wiki Educator is very social. In other words, you can not only create content and share information, you can also plan things, discuss, create an LMS directly on Wiki Educator, which is absolutely amazing. So that's what's good about it. And this is a list of all the things that you can do on Wiki Educator. And the idea, of course, is not to work alone. It's for others to come in and remix, reuse, edit, make changes. And if you want to know who made the change, you will know who made the change. If you want to revert back to the original because you don't like the change, you can do that. So it's a wiki, which means that you can always go back in history and check what's there. For those of you that are not familiar with wikis, if you could add that in the chat, are you familiar with, with wikis? Very important. I was addicted to Wiki Educator and wikis. I had my own wiki I installed through Wikimedia. I installed it on my server because I just had to wiki. It's a lot of fun. And if you're one of these people that likes to create, you will love it. Many universities have wikis on their platforms. They host wikis, so you get a chance to add information. It's a lot of fun because it really does turn you into a collaborative learner, teacher, and it's fun to collaborate. We are social beings who like to learn with others and not to be there alone. So this is an image. If you click on it, you'll be able to get help. So help is always there, not by a bot, but information is there for you to check. And you can practice editing so that you can add your OER. All right, so let's get started. Let me know if you're ready to get started. We're 2 minutes late, but are you ready to get started with creating your very own OER? Yes, yes, you have no choice. If you say no, I'll have to wait and you want me to go on, right? Okay, so let's get started. First of all, you need these ingredients. You need to develop an OER mindset. Now you may think, Nelly, what is she talking about? We're teachers. That's exactly who we are. We care and we want to share. And all right, so it's not that easy. You need to have or develop at least this mindset, generosity. Are you willing to share all the hard work that you've put hours and hours and hours and you work by yourself? Are you willing to put it out there for others to take apart, maybe? So something to think about. How generous, are you? How generous am I? Okay, we can all, it's not just you, it's myself as well. You need determination. And if you're interested, I'll be sharing David Goggins' book on determination. If you want to develop determination, I think the teachers are probably very set on changing their mindset, because that's what learning is about. And we want our students to model what we do, right? So determination is really important. But, sometimes we get sidetracked and things happen and we put things off. We're human. So determination is something that we can develop, and Goggins got some great ideas on how to do it. And Duckworth, with her grit, also has some good points on how to do it. Growth Mindset by Dweck. I'm sure many of you have heard of Dweck, an amazing psychologist who came up with this great idea that I'm sure is not new, but she researched it, and her research is amazing on growth mindset as opposed to fixed. And these are things that you're not born with, that you can develop. And open to ideas. What teacher is not? I'm sure you are open to ideas. And then we come to collaborative mindset. Collaborating is not easy. We do love it once we, we think about generosity and growth, a growth mindset, because not everybody is born to collaborate. It's something that is not that easy, but it's very, very, gratifying and satisfying once we get over some of the hurdles that we may have. So you need these 5 ingredients. So let me just ask you, are you willing to practice generosity, determination, grit, growth, a growth mindset, open to ideas mindset, and a collaborative mindset? If you are, say yes, because that's what you need to get started. Now, if you're not sure, that's okay. If you don't know, if you want to try it out, if you want to develop and see how things go, that's fine. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to start the process. Now, what I've done is I created this wiki page. Oh, sorry, I didn't want to do that. Okay, I created this wiki page in February when I gave, well, before the first session. I can tell you exactly when I created it, of course. But if you can see it, let me know in the chat, because I think for some reason you may not be able to see it because it's not working. Let me try that again. Let me see if I can make it work by going elsewhere. Okay, it should work now. Okay, can everybody see that? Yes, I'm sure you can. Okay, so I created this after our Open Education Resource 101, finding and using free resources in your classroom session on January 23rd, 2021. And I suggested that everybody join. And we have one participant, Sudarshana. I think I misspelled her name. Sudarshana, the A is missing there, I'll have to fix that, who joined. So I'd like you to join. So how do you join? Well, first thing you do is you go into request account. And it doesn't take long. You just need to verify your email, confirm your email. But I think you can get it even before you confirm your email. So let's give it a try. I'm going to give you a second or two. Let me share the page with you in the chat box. Okay, so I'm copying it. And I'm going to add it to the chat box. Let's see how long it takes you. Okay, I'm timing you. So let's see how, I'm just curious how long it takes to get an account and appear on that page. So that's Wiki Educator, the name of the page, and you can create your own pages on Wiki Educator, and you'll be learning about that, how to create a page, how to create your OER, and so on. But the first step is to get an account. By the way, you can also invite your students if you've got adult students. I use this with my high school students, learning English as a foreign language students. And they collaborated with another school in another country in the United States, and then in Holland and in Italy. And they learned together using Wiki Educator. So there's a page out there with all the information. I also created a Holocaust page with information and for students to join and teachers. So there's lots of information out there. You just need to search for it. But you can also, okay, so Min, did you, let's see. So the next step, of course, is to add yourself to the page. So how many of you have created accounts? Let me know. So that's 1 minute. Great, Revathi. Revathi, did you have an account there before? I guess not, if you said you just created one. Oh, you did have an account. Okay, I thought so. I think maybe we met through Wiki Educator. I don't know. We might have met there. I met a lot of teachers from around the world on Wiki Educator. Yeah, we did meet. Okay, in 2014, you see, and everything's there. It's probably documented, our conversations. All right, that's great to know. So anyone else who doesn't have an account, get an account? Oh, great. Okay, so Ken, I see you've got an account. Wonderful. Okay, wonderful. That's great. I don't know if I'm going to pronounce your name correctly, but I see that a few people, you requested one, Chad. Yeah, okay. So that's the first. Okay, Min doesn't have one yet. Okay, so that's the first step. The first step is to create an account. And you can think of reasons why this is important. Anyone can use your OER or can read your information, but they cannot edit or add to it unless they have an account. Okay, and that's to make sure that we don't get spammers. And by the way, this wiki is checked regularly by a computer system for spam. So it's not people doing it. It's a computer system that makes sure that everything there is as it should be. No spammers or information that's ridiculous. I wouldn't try it if I were you, if you want to try it, because you're going to be thrown out of the system and you won't be able to come back unless you change your VPN or your identity. Okay, so that's what you do. All right, now in order not to keep you waiting for too long, I created another. Okay, I created another area for you, and to make life easier, let me switch my role here so you can see what you will see. I created a Moodle course so that we can work together at our own pace, you know, not in a time-based space, but you can work and we can work together. I can support you and help you out, but not only me, we can support each other. And that's the idea behind here. So we can create open education resources on Wiki Educator as well as on other platforms. The idea, of course, is to be able to discuss, plan, design, and figure out ways of doing it. And of course, connect, okay, which is really, really important because that's the only way to move forward, is when teachers connect. And I'm sure you belong to lots of organizations, which is fine, but these organizations may not have, I'm thinking of TESOL, for example, that doesn't have a platform for courses, for free courses, at least, like Moodle or maybe another platform where it's possible. On Moodle, there are lots of features, plugins, where you can create different activities that can be exported. Just about anything that you create on Moodle, just as on Wiki Educator, you can export and use it elsewhere. So let me share that in the chat so you can see and join this as well. Okay, this is actually the most important link for you. And I'll also share the PowerPoint, the presentation link, so that you can also use that. Okay, so there's the link. And let me get the link and share the PowerPoint with you. Okay, so there we go. I want to leave some time for questions. So, all right, so let me go back to our presentation. Here we go. Okay, so that's the wiki page. If you click on it, it'll take you there. And the Moodle course link is also on the wiki page. So the wiki page is actually our landing page. Okay, that's where we get all the links and then we go to different places. So it's important that you list yourself, or at least if you don't want to become a member of Wiki Educator at this time, or maybe never, at least you'll be able to join the Moodle by getting the information. The information is available for non-members of the Wiki Educator community as well. So this is an example of how you can plan. This is a planning group that started about 10 years ago, and it developed into an OER university. A university was developed on Wiki Educator. There are other planning groups that developed other things. So this is great to develop, and it's on one platform to develop different projects. These are some of the references that may help you on Wiki Educator and other OER. And these are the books that I mentioned: Mindset by Carol Dweck, Grit by Angela Duckworth, and David Goggins, I think I misspelled his name, I wrote Googans, double G, not double O, Can't Hurt Me, where he talks about physical endurance activities and how you can callous your mind through physical activities. And the physical activities can be something like reading a book. Anything physical that's not in your head but external, could be doing the dishes. And I want to go back to the 4 elements of creating OERs that I think, if I can find them, that are really, really important. Sorry if I made you dizzy. And that's these mindset that you can think about: generosity, determination, grit. Don't give up. You'll do it. Okay, you'll get things done. You'll be able to collaborate. It will happen if you decide. And hoping to see you in the course. And this is very serious, okay? If anybody, those who know me that came from Moodle for Teachers, that's the name of the Moodle platform, know that I'm very serious about the courses. Everything that I do does have a beginning and an end. And of course, there's middle. But it does have some kind of result at the end. Okay, so I'm going to stop and let you ask questions, and then we can continue and see how many joined the page.
Yeah, there are some questions here. There are like 3 questions. One of them comes from Rebati, and she's asking, how do we make other account holders know about our OER?
You mean how to share them?
How, yeah, I think, how do we share and how we make others know about our OER?
Great question. That's a great question. I think social networks still work for us. And our schools, school websites, maybe others can think of ways. How do we share information? It's mostly online, but it could be face-to-face. You could do it on WhatsApp. If you're using Messenger, if you're using, I don't know, I don't like the word Telegram, but if you're using Telegram, whatever you're using, whatever messaging system you're using, the way we would share any kind of online work, because OERs are online unless you publish a book, and then you can, of course, share the information about the book. But yes, it's mostly online. Any other thoughts? Feel free. Let me just
Yeah,
make sure that anybody who wants to
There
speak can
is.
unmute themselves.
oh well. There's
Yeah,
another
'cause that was
question
off.
here, which is
Yes.
written. It says, we've been told you can host only events and conferences in Wiki Educator. Does that mean you can do webinars there? That's the question.
Host, oh, I see. Yes, you can host certain files. Okay, let's put it that way. You can add any kind of multimedia, but there used to be an open source. I did mention open source. I mentioned Jitsi as a platform. What you can do is you can share the link of whatever platform you want to be using, like if you want to use Zoom, but Wiki Educator or Wikimedia in general does not have a platform for, say, Jitsi, but Moodle does. Moodle does have Jitsi on it. It's there, if that's what you mean. But no, there's no software available on any kind of wiki as far as I know. Maybe there was in the past, but they couldn't sustain, they didn't have the funding. Remember, somebody has to pay, even if it's free and open, someone has to pay for it. And sometimes there's no funding, so things disappear. I hope that answered your question. If not, please help me understand if I didn't.
Mary, you're muted.
Yeah, thank you. Someone else, Jen McNeil, she says,
Hi,
can you
Jen.
show the reference page again, please?
Yeah, it's available on the PowerPoint,
Right.
but definitely I will share it. There we are. Let me get back to it. There we are. You want to take a photo of it? Is that it? Let me make it bigger. Tell me if you can, yeah, you can see it.
Okay, now it's visible.
Is there a specific, Jen, is there a specific article that you'd like me to maybe explain, or? They're very current. I try to, whatever I get, I try to be as current as possible. The fact that it's 2013 is because Patricia Schlecht was very involved with Wiki Educator. She's from British Columbia, Canada, because Vancouver, because she was so involved, and she did write something about the L4C, which was a program. I was also involved. Dr. Ramesh was involved. Rebathy, you might have taken. These were free courses on how to use Wiki Educator, how to use the wiki. In those days, there was no editing, rich editor. It was just the wiki codes. Nowadays, you don't have to use the codes unless you like to use them, like I do, but you can use a regular editor. An editor means that you don't need to know any coding. Jan, does that help?
Well, there is another comment, Dr. Osia
Yes,
Nelson.
Mhm.
She says, thanks, Nelly, great presentation. However,
Thank you,
I have a
Eva.
question on the rationale for her presentation, CC, BY, and C,
Yes,
and D.
yes.
Why
Mhm.
ND and why not SA? Many of us advocates on OER argue that OER is just CC, BY, and CC, BY, SA.
Yeah, the point is that because this is done on Google Docs, okay, and Google Docs is not really an OER. So that's a great question. And thank you for pointing that out, Eba. But feel free to unmute yourself, and you can also, I think you can speak as well.
And can you
I was just wondering, and I mean, we know each other quite well, Nelly, so I can discuss this with you.
Okay, sure.
But I think also you said that feel free to use the slides and feel free to use my presentation and why we invent the wheel all the time and this kind of things. But actually, the license you have chosen doesn't allow us to use it.
Yeah, that's why I mentioned it. That's why I said that Google Docs.
Yeah.
Google is not, it has nothing to, Google is very, very not open for, but it does have, this is a wiki. Google Doc, all the documents, actually, the slides, the presentation, everything is, for now anyways, until Google decides that it wants to charge money. But right now it's all free and collaborative, and you can do, if someone decides to, in other words, it's up to you. I decided that I was going to make all my presentations and all the work that I do available to anyone to copy, to use in any way that they wish. So with the presentations, if you go to the presentations, you'll see that that's available for those who, I'm sure Eba knows what she's talking about, but anyone who doesn't, if you go into the file, okay, anyone can make a copy of the entire presentation. They can also download it as a Microsoft, notice the availability here. They can edit it, do anything they want with it after. And I think this is my decision. For this particular PowerPoint presentation, they can do it only after they create a copy. So after, I don't think it's sharing, right? It's not sharing. Let me stop it and force it to go there so I can share. Yeah, now it's sharing. If you notice, you have a choice. You can either give everyone editing rights or just copy and viewing rights. Okay, so in this case, right now, I wanted to share the information, which means that you can copy and you can make it available to edit. So right now, it's only, notice it's only to view, but I can change that to edit. And then you'll be able to edit the content, okay? So now it is available to you as if it were an OER, as if it were, okay? But it's not, of course. So now if you click on the link, you'll be able to also make changes, and you can try it. Now you ask me, Nelly, why would you do that? Because they're gonna mess up your information. Well, I can go back to history if I want to, and under history, I can see who made the changes. Okay, let me go back here, I didn't go right. I go to history and see version history, and then see who made the change. Okay, all the I do this with my students. They think, I mean, I didn't make the change, but I see that you did. It's right here. It shows that you made the change. So if you want to make a change, I'll know exactly what you changed. I also get notified when changes are made to my version or to a specific version. I also see when I made changes, and you can see all the changes I made with, but does that provide more information?
No, actually not.
Okay,
I was wondering for your presentation, your PowerPoint.
this is it. This is the presentation.
But your if you, for example, show the first one of the first pages again.
Okay. Yes. Uh-huh.
No, that was not how you showed it for us earlier on.
I'm not sure. I didn't make any changes.
Anyway,
Sorry.
I think it's an important issue. I mean, I will not go in.
Yeah, there are lots of questions. Yes, as I mentioned, yeah, as I mentioned, there are a lot of
It's important to use the share alike issue for Creative Commons, because that means that you really can share it with others. You can also change things if you like.
Mm-hmm. Okay, in this case, you can make all the changes you wish. And yes, there are lots of discussions about, should they be free? Should they not be free? What is free? If somebody owns it, for example, Google owns, this, and I can't go into the code behind it. So is it really free? It's not. Okay, lots of issues, but we're not going to get into that because I don't think any teacher is interested in joining the OER movement and making decisions at this time. But if you are interested, these are some of the issues that are discussed on a regular basis. And there are lots of arguments too. People get very heated up as well. So get ready for war. I know a lot of people, and they get very heated up.
We have one more question here.
Yes.
Tao is saying, I am now assigning my students to collect reading text and create glossary with image and submit as portfolio. Is there any platform to help them both submit and also display their portfolio as a corpus or an online collection?
What do you want to do do you want to make it public for anyone to use, or you just want to share it? What's the idea behind it? Do you want people to add to it, collaborate?
Yes. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's just like, can I say?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Okay, so the idea behind it is I'd like them to kind of be exposed to the authentic text because they are technical students. Mm-hmm. And so this one is just to be regulated within the classroom only, not for kind of open to the outside people. Okay?
That's a good question.
Yes.
It's not an OER. It's not it's not the mindset that we're discussing here, because you're going to keep it closed in your classroom. And this is about opening everything to the world and allowing others to collaborate, edit, add, make changes. And that's the mindset that I was referring to. It's not about keeping things in your classroom with you. It's about, being open to everyone.
Right. Related to that, I guess one of our attendees, when you asked about the mindset and generosity, if they're willing to share, mentioned that, quote, I am not confident enough to share my work. And many people think that the teachers right now with the OER and create an OER would not, or are concerned about the quality of OER that teachers would. What's your intake, Dr. Nelly?
Yeah, well, I think you can check, as a teacher, you can check what's out there and see, if it suits you or not, if you have to, and then make changes. And I'm sure that whoever created it with them, so-called, let's say, errors, would be very grateful. And I think you'd be doing them, a service when you make the changes. In other words, it's about, helping one another. It's not about, oh, okay, let's keep it, for myself only. And, oh, I know there are mistakes there, but I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. The idea is not to hurt anybody's feelings, but to help them so that the information out there is, is genuine. If you know more, then yes, please make the change, add it.
The other way around, right? If somebody sees something and they think it needs to be changed, they will help you out, point it out to
Exactly.
Right?
And that's what it's about. It's about, working, collaborating, working together, not everybody on their own island, but, let's work. That's what the OER is about.
I
It's
will
about
also
working
add
together.
that is a way to enhance quality, because quality is quite often a concern, but if we are sharing, the quality will increase, because there are more people who are getting involved and can look at things.
Hopefully, when you think about it, hopefully.
I mean, as always,
it may just deteriorate too. I mean,
But the question here is, what is quality? Quality itself. I mean, it's, that's the larger, biggest question. What is quality?
Exactly. What quality for one may not be quality for another. But at least
Right.
there'll be a discussion, we'll be able to discuss. And that's also a very important aspect. You don't have to be, quality for one may be one thing, for somebody else something else, but that's okay. Let's see if we can come up to something, bigger. It's not 1 and 2, but maybe we can come up with a 3 and maybe more. And,
Right.
So I totally agree. And the idea, I just want to mention the idea of having, someone from up there making the decisions and deciding, okay, guys, ruling whatever, this is what we should do. And this is, I'm sorry, but I don't go for that. I think that nobody has the right to decide what is quality and what is not. We can make decisions together, but to have a body that makes that decision really makes me cringe. I find it very difficult, to have.
I guess if it fits your students' needs and your context, then it's quality for you, right? It might not be quality for me, but it's quality for you.
Exactly, it has to fit. Yeah, and
right?
exactly. When it comes to teaching and learning, definitely.
Great. So we're 4 minutes after the hour here. Many are curious to know what happens after requesting the account. One word and then we'll close up.
Okay, so the information is going to be there. There's the Moodle course where we're going to be collaborating, because some may find working directly on the wiki at the beginning a bit difficult. So I expect lots of questions. So I suggest you go to the Moodle first, enroll in the course, and then we'll be able to work together one-on-one and in teams. But of course, you're going to have a lot of questions, and you might not be able to add them to the wiki at this time. But you can use the talk. The wiki has a talk feature at the top. You can go there and start a conversation there as well. So ask questions. That's what we tell our students. Feel comfortable. And it's hard to say this, feel comfortable, but I hope you feel comfortable just to ask a question. And every question is brilliant, as I always say, because it's going to move you forward. It's going to give you an answer. And you're important enough for me to relate to your question. And I do not judge questions, as I'm sure teachers don't, but maybe some do, but I don't judge questions.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Nelly Deutsch, for this great session, and thank you for your generosity. You obviously heard that you're having a free training here. That's my understanding.
That's right.
Questions in there and how to navigate. So log in and try things and ask questions. And your learning experience of OER creation starts after this webinar. And you'll have access with and contact with Dr. Nelly Deutsch. Thank you so much. And thank you, Dr. Abba, again for being here. And everybody else as well. We will be sharing the recording via Call IS, YouTube, on my TESOL international platforms and on social media. Thank you, and enjoy your Saturday.